Craig?
Hello, welcome to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
And I'm Corwin Heller.
And
Before we begin, I got something I want to say.
All right, let it out.
It has come to my attention that you don't edit out when I say "Sup, Craig" every single episode.
I never do.
I had no idea because I don't listen to our podcast after we record it because I know what I said. I don't need to hear it again. Yeah, I had no idea.
How did you come to that revelation?
Quinn had asked me, "Hey, why do you say hello to a Craig every episode?" Who's Craig? I was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's just like a bot on Discord that records our stuff." Well, like, is that you hear that every episode? She's like, "Yeah, every episode." I was like, "Oh, that's new information to me." Okay.
And I always make sure I have the music start to come down right as you say it too.
That's what she said. She's like, "Yeah, the music stops and you say, 'Sup, Craig?'" And I was like, okay.
Oh my god, dude! I've been doing that for so long. I can't believe you just came to this realization. That's amazing.
Why would I listen to a podcast I was present for the recording for and know everything that was said?
So that you mean you don't jerk off to these later?
No, not typically. Only if I'm in that kind of mood. And then
I guess you have
the good parts.
I guess you haven't been in that kind of mood in a while then.
No.
I'm glad that you have come to this realization. It's one of the reasons I'm so insistent upon you saying it now. Now it's part of the thing.
I get it. I get it now.
It's fun. It's a fun little. It's a little Easter egg. Anyway, we're here to talk today. We're here today to make me sad. That is why we're here today.
Nothing I love more.
The Jets are bad, and this is a very timely episode for us since the Jets played their Thursday night game on, Thursday night, and we record these episodes on Sunday, which means in a typical week, either the Jets game would be happening right as we're recording this at 3:40 in the afternoon on Sunday, but we have the entirety of their game under our belt already, and boy, was it disappointing, even by Jet standards. And that is just another nail in what should be the coffin of Adam Gase and the subject for today's episode. Since you, Corwin, did a lot of the legwork for today, some might say all of it. Why don't you get us started on it?
All right. So I basically had the idea after hearing about discussing with me and Josh how awful Adam Gase is. We both know this. We both talk about it often. And then hearing how much the Johnsons apparently just really love the guy and don't really care to see him move on from the team. I wanted to really break down and prove how bad not Josh McDaniels, holy shit. Also, he is bad. How bad Adam Gase is. So I did. I basically went back all the way to 2005, his first time as an offensive assistant in the NFL. And so this first tab, offensive history, it's got that. It's got his position, who the coach was, so we could look at that, see the context with that. We have all of their key offensive players, quarterbacks, top receivers, top running back, their record. And then we break down the actual offensive numbers of these offenses that Adam Gase was a part of. So the numbers we're going to be looking at are points per game, their scoring rank in the NFL, total yards per game, where they rank in yards, and then breaking that down further into passing and rushing with those same categories. And then, a quick little context column of just how their season finished. So Adam Gase has been a member of offensive coaching staffs all the way since 2005 when he started with the Lions under Steve Mariucci. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. 2005, 2006, he was an offensive assistant under 3 separate head coaches during that time. 3 total years with the Lions, finished out in 2007 as a QB coach. How do you want to do this? Do you want to do each team, each season? How do you want to break this down? There's a lot here that we're going to go through. I don't know how you want to decide this.
Whatever you think is going to be the best flow for you. I can follow along with any format here.
I think it'd be easiest just to go through year by year. It might take a little longer, but I think we'd get a clearer picture of everything. So 2005, offensive assistant for the Detroit Lions under Steve Mariucci, who was fired midseason. Dick Jauron took over as interim coach. Their quarterback that year was Joey Harrington, with Jeff Garcia having some spot starts. So you could tell off the bat that they're working with some high caliber players. Roy Williams was their top receiver, and Kevin Jones of the Jonas Brothers was their top running back. Finished the year 5-11, scored 15.9 points per game, 28th in the league in scoring.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not good. 4,319 yards, so that's 270 a game, 27th in the NFL. 2,848 passing yards, 178 a game. 178 a game. And that's still 26th. I thought that would be significantly lower with 178 yards a game. That's criminally low. But that's what it is. They did have 1,471 rushing yards, 92 a game, which again is 26th in the NFL. So not a great start. I will say, to his defense, offensive assistants aren't exactly guys who have a very hands-on connection with that offense, the players, the coaching, the play calling, what have you. But the team wasn't good. Next year, 2006, Rod Marinelli takes over at head coach. John Kitna becomes the quarterback. Again, superstar quarterback John Kitna. Roy Williams is still the top receiver. He makes the Pro Bowl this year. Kevin Jones is still the running back. They do even worse, finishing 3-13. They improve offensively slightly. They're up 3 points a game to 21st rank, the 21st rank in the NFL. Nearly approached 5,000 total yards, 51 yards shy. Brings them up to 22 in the NFL. Passing is where they took a massive, massive leap. They go from 2,850 yards to 3,820, 239 a game. That's 7th in the NFL in passing. But rushing drops down to 1,129 yards, 71 a game, and that's dead last in the NFL. And they finished dead last in the NFC North. So there are improvements to the passing game. Kevin Jones, not the best running back, can't really get it done. Their rushing game suffers even more. Not looking great. So 2007, Gase is promoted to QB coach. Still has John Kitna. Sean McDonald becomes the top wide receiver in that offense. Kevin Jones is still the running back. They improve quite a bit. They go from 3-13 to 7-9. That's a 4-win bump. That's pretty good. They bump up 1.5 in scoring. 2.5 points in scoring, up to 21.6. That's 16th in the NFL. You should remember this. 16. 5,166 yards, 323 a game, good for 19th in the NFL for total yards. If we go through every number, all these numbers, it's just going to get way too chaotic. So they are still top 10 in passing. They're number 9, but they're still 31st in rushing rank. So no real improvements there. Really, the only major change comes with scoring, and that's scoring efficiency. But Rod Marinelli fired after that season. Adam Gase goes as well. He moves over to the 49ers, where he becomes an offensive assistant under Mike Nolan, who's fired midseason. Mike Singletary, Hall of Fame linebacker, becomes the head coach. Quarterback that year was a mix of Sean Hill and JT O'Sullivan. Isaac Bruce, the Hall of Famer at wide receiver, and Frank Gore Frank Gore in 2008 was their leading rusher. That was 12 years
Yeesh.
ago.
Wow.
Frank Gore is still the leading rusher for the team that he's coaching in 2020. Just a quick reminder.
Fucking
Remember what that
ridiculous.
is.
Yeah.
49ers go 7-9 that season, 21.2 points per game, 22nd in the NFL. Passing wise, or total yards, they finished 23rd. Passing, they finished 13th. Rushing, they finished 27th. So pretty par for the course with what we see in Adam Gase's offenses. Granted, still just an offensive assistant, doesn't have a huge impact. That's fine. Leaves in the offseason, becomes the wide receiver coach at the Denver Broncos in 2009 under head coach Josh McDaniels. Kyle Orton is his quarterback, so continuing with just the superstars he's got to work with at quarterback. But he does have some pretty good wide receivers here. He's got Brandon Marshall, who makes a Pro Bowl. This was his probably the best year of his career. Noshawn Marino, the rookie out of Wisconsin, becomes their starting running back. They go 8-8. 20th in scoring, 15th in passing, or 15th in total yards, 13th in passing, and then 18th in rushing. So by all means,
much mediocrity.
Right. Very mediocre, but it's not nearly as bad rushing wise as the past stops he's had. As wide receiver coach, he's not really involved with that, so you can't really chalk that up to him. Passing is where you want to focus. 13th isn't bad, especially when you have Kyle Orton there. 2010, wide receiver coach. Josh McDaniels gets fired mid-season. Eric Studesville takes over. He still has Kyle Orton. He gets hurt. Tim Tebow, rookie out of Florida. Kind of a big college player. Gets taken in the first round. He takes over. Brandon Marshall is no longer there. So Brandon Lloyd takes over. And I didn't know this. Brandon Lloyd made the Pro Bowl this year.
What?
I don't even know who Brandon Lloyd is.
No.
But had a great season. Noshawn Marino, again, top running back. Not quite nearly as good as they were the previous year. Dropped to 4-12. 19th in scoring, so they drop one spot. 13th in total yards, so they bump up a little bit. Passing, they pass for over 4,000 yards. They bump up into the top 10. They're now 7th in the NFL. Rushing-wise, they drop down, average under 100 yards a game, finish 26th, 4th in the AFC West, dead last. This is the turning point. This is just pure mediocrity, a couple top 10 seasons passing-wise, but Adam Gase never really was a major factor. Wide receiver coach, coached 2 straight Pro Bowlers, did some good there, but wasn't nearly as hands-on with how things are going. 2011, he gets promoted to QB coach. John Fox comes in. He still has Tim Tebow. He still has Kyle Orton. They split starts. There's some better wide receivers there. They got Eric Decker and Demaryius Thomas now. Willis McGahee takes over the running back position. He goes to the Pro Bowl. They finish 8-8. So while still quite mediocre, that's a 4-win jump season to season. Average under 20 points a game, though. 25th in the NFL. 5,000 yards, good for 23rd in the NFL. They pass. The year before, they passed for over 4,000 yards. This year, with Tim Tebow, Kyle Orton, they pass for under 2,500, good for 31st in the NFL. That being said, they rush for 2,632 yards. That's insanity. They're averaging 165 rushing yards a game. That's the best in the NFL. Again, to provide full context, Adam Gase doesn't really have anything to add to that as QB coach.
No.
But at the same time, they win the AFC West after finishing dead last the year before. And this is the year they go to the wild card. They play the Steelers.
Fuck him in the butt.
Tebow has one of the greatest overtime plays of all time and is honestly one of the most scarring sports moments in my entire life. Fucking 75-yard pass, whatever it was, to Demaryius Thomas with the longest windup I've ever seen. It's like slow motion, and he just cuts across the middle of the field, takes it to the house, wins in overtime, goes on, beats the Steelers in overtime. They go on to lose to the Patriots 45-10 in the divisional round. Patriots go on to lose in the Super Bowl that year. That's the turning point for them. Because you know what happens after this year?
Tell me what happens after this year, Corwin.
Peyton Manning comes to town.
Who's that, Corwin?
I don't know if you know Peyton Manning. He's a good quarterback.
Never heard of him.
Hall of Famer. He's
never heard of her.
Sheriff.
Mr. Omaha himself.
Peyton Manning comes in, his first team All-Pro. Demaryius Thomas takes over as, a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Eric Decker is still there. He's still a superstar. Willis McGahee, Noshawn Marino, they're still very good running backs. They go 13-3. They average 30.1 points a game, up from 19.3 the year before. That's good for second in the NFL. They have 30 words, excuse me. They have 6,366 total yards, nearly 400 a game, good for fourth in the NFL. Peyton Manning passes for 4,534. That's fifth in the NFL. And they rush for 1,832 yards. That's 16th. So that's still right there, top half. End up winning the AFC West yet again, get a first-round bye, lose in the divisional round to the Ravens by a field goal. Ravens go on. That was the year Joe Flacco won himself essentially $163 million. They go on to win the Super Bowl. The following year, Peyton Manning is in his second year in the system, another year removed from that neck surgery. This year, Adam Gase gets promoted from QB coach to offensive coordinator. He's in control of that offense. Guess what? Peyton Manning, first team All-Pro. Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas. Thomas and Thomas go to the Pro Bowl. Noshawn Marino still at running back. They go 13-3 again. They average 37.9 yards or points per game. That's best in the NFL. That's one of the best all time. Peyton Manning the team has a total of 7,317 yards, 457 a game, easily the best in the NFL. Peyton Manning passes for 5,444 yards, sets the touchdown record at 55, has arguably one of the best quarterback seasons in the history of the NFL. Honestly, eclipsed only by possibly Patrick Mahomes this past season, 2 seasons ago, I guess. No,
every season,
essentially every season. Just a truly unreal season. Rush for 1,873 yards, 15th in the NFL. Again, win the AFC West, win a playoff game, win the division round against the Chargers, win the AFC Championship, go to the Super Bowl, and are just absolutely destroyed by the Seahawks because they break down his audibles at the line of scrimmage. They know what's going on when he yells Omaha. They completely shut them out 43-8. Not completely shut them out, but when you have that historic of a season and only score 8 points, yeah, okay, it's essentially a shutout. Again, Peyton Manning comes back. 2014, John Fox, Peyton Manning's a Pro Bowler, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Julius Thomas, C.J. Anderson, all make the Pro Bowl. Go 12-4, still average 30 points a game, top 2 in the NFL in scoring. Nearly 6,500 total yards, good for fourth in the NFL, averaging over 400 a game. Peyton Manning passes for 4,600 yards, 800 less than the year before, but that's what happens when you set historic records. You regress to the mean. That's how it goes. Fourth in the NFL in passing, 15th again in rushing. Win the AFC West, get a first-round bye, lose to the Colts, who end up losing in the AFC Championship. Following year, Gase is out. Fox is out. They go over to the Bears. Again, Gase is OC. John Fox head coach. Takes a little step back from Peyton Manning. Now has Jay Cutler. Looking back, after seeing him in his reality show, I fucking love Jay Cutler. I wish I got to see more of him when he played. Alshon Jeffrey is there as their top receiver. Matt Forte in his age 30 season is their top rusher. Bears go 6-10. So if you look on the stat sheet here, they averaged 20.9 points per game, parentheses +1. So with Adam Gase taking over a brand new team as the offensive coordinator, that's how they improved. So they gained a full point per game with Gase taking over. They're 23rd in the NFL. No change there. 5,500 total yards. Good for 21st in the NFL. No change. Jay Cutler passes for 3,663 yards. They finished ranked 23rd. That drops them 8 ranks in the NFL from the previous season. That's not good, especially when Gase is brought on as the guy who is considered one of the architects of Peyton Manning's superstardom in Denver. They do rush for 1,800 yards, good for 116 per game. That puts them 11th in the NFL, a 16-spot increase from the year before, but they end up finishing 4th in the NFC North.
It's almost like rushing doesn't matter nearly as much as passing does.
No, not in this NFL that we got going on right now.
What a wacky thought.
Yards are yards, but at the same time, when Adam Gase carries this quarterback whisperer, that's what he's known for. That's what he's hired for. Those aren't the kind of changes you want to see. He is let go, moves. Well, I don't know if he's let go, but he's hired the following year by the Miami Dolphins as their head coach. It's his team. It's his offense. He's in full control.
It'd be the most NFL thing in the world if he got fired and turned that firing into a promotion.
To be fair, knowing Adam Gase's career arc, I wouldn't put it past him. He just seems to have that kind of pull somehow. Ryan Tannehill is his quarterback. Jarvis Landry is their top receiver. He's a Pro Bowler. Jay Ajayi, a name I had forgotten about, is their top rusher. He goes to the Pro Bowl as well. Excuse me. They finished 10-6. They have 22.7 points per game. That's a 2.7 point increase per game from the previous year. Their scoring is 17th in the NFL. That's a 10-spot jump from where they were the previous year. That's pretty great. 5,300 total yards. Good for 24th in the NFL. That's a 2-spot jump. Ryan Tannehill passes for 3,500 yards. That's 26th in the NFL. A 9-spot drop in passing. Again, not a great finish for a guy that's brought in to be a QB whisperer, help out a young Ryan Tannehill that, had up and down seasons in the 4 years leading up to Gase taking over. They were trying to, fix him up, get this guy in here who was the architect for Peyton Manning's resurgence, fix our young QB, get us going. Dropping 9 spots in passing isn't exactly it. But again, they rushed for 1,800 yards, good for 9th in the NFL, a 14-spot jump in rushing rank. They finished 2nd in the AFC East, go to the playoffs, lose the wild card to the Steelers. So Gase, mixed feelings about him as a Steelers fan. We'll never forgive him for that overtime loss with Demaryius Thomas, but I'll accept the loss with the Dolphins is what it is. Next year, they bench Ryan Tannehill, or he gets hurt. I don't remember. I forgot to put the note in here when I looked it up. Jay Cutler takes over because that's your solution. Jarvis Landry's still a Pro Bowler. Kenyon Drake is coming in. He's their leading rusher. They go from 10-6 to 6-10. They flip the script. They drop from 22.7 points per game to 17.6, 28th in the NFL. So an 11-spot drop. Have under 5,000 total yards, puts them at 25 in the NFL. Jay Cutler passes for 3,500 yards, good for 18th. A little bit of a jump there with veteran Jay Cutler. Okay, I get it. I can see it. Even though they threw for 35 total extra yards, but they jump up 8 spots in the rankings. 6 spots in the rankings. Math is hard. Wait.
That's 8.
8, yes. Wow, math is hard. but they cannot rush anywhere close to the same. Rush for nearly 1,400 yards, good for 29th in the NFL. So the rushing magic is gone. They finished third in the AFC East, missed the playoffs. Again, 2018 comes around. Ryan Tannehill is back. At some point, Brock Osweiler takes over, a name I had forgotten about. Danny Amendola is their leading receiver. Frank Gore is their leading rusher. Not exactly the superstars you would expect. They finished 7-9, finished under 20 points per game, 26th in the NFL in scoring. They have 4,600 total yards, good for 31st in the NFL. Pass for under 3,000 yards, 30th in the NFL. But they rushed for 1,700 yards, finish 18th, finish second in the AFC East, but they missed the playoffs. Guess what? Adam Gase gets fired.
I don't know. This makes him a pretty hot commodity here. I mean, how do you turn down the guy who just finished 31st? I mean, that's impressive.
You know what? He's a superstar, man. Peyton Manning vouched for him. How could you go against that? You know.
He called Woody Johnson and said, "Look, Woody, I'm going to give you a lifetime supply of Papa John's pizza and nationwide insurance. All you have to do is hire Adam Gase for at least 3 years."
Woody, look at me. You see how big my forehead is? You see how you realize how big my brain must be to fit inside a forehead that large? I'm a genius.
I'll buy every Band-Aid in the CVS right now if you sign Adam Gase.
I swear to God, Woody, I won't make fun of you at the ESPYs this year if you hire Adam Gase. I promise. But the Jets hire Adam Gase. They got a young second-year quarterback in Sam Darnold. He gets hurt. Luke Falk has to make some spot starts. Will not hold that against him. I've seen Luke Falk play. It's not pretty. Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson are their leading receivers. Le'Veon Bell gets brought in as their top running back. They go 7-9. They finish with 17.3 points per game. That's a 3.5 point drop from the previous year. 31st in the NFL, drops them 8 spots in scoring. Under 4,400 yards total, good for 32nd in the NFL. 3 spot drop from the previous year. Darnold passes for 3,100 yards, good for 29th in the NFL. 4 spot drop from the year before. So this whole QB whisperer reputation just has never once shown to be true. They rush for 1,200 yards, good for 31st in the NFL. Another 5 spot drop. So the rushing magic is definitely gone. Finished third in the AFC East. Everyone expects Adam Gase to be fired. Everyone is calling for Adam Gase to be fired. He comes back this year, and boy, what a start has it been. Sam Darnold, the quarterback. Braxton Berrios is their leading receiver so far this season. Frank Gore, who was his leading rusher in 2008, is their lead running back. They were 0-3. They are 0-3. Is this still? They still only. This is week 4. This is week 3.
This is week 4.
Okay, they're 0-4.
They are 0-4.
12.3 points per game, worst in the NFL. Under 800 total yards, worst in the NFL. 526 passing yards, second to last in the NFL. 265 rushing yards, 28th in the NFL.
So, Corwin, you definitely didn't update this from after the Thursday night game because as it stands right now, they have 1,112 total yards.
Okay.
But
did not update it probably because
I'm willing to bet though the placement in terms of where the Jets rank though is probably accurate, if not worse than what you're reading right now.
They're not finishing. They're not jumping up into the top 20 after the Thursday night game.
God, no.
But here's a little snippet of information. I told you to remember that year, all the way back in 2007, when he was the QB coach of the Lions, and that offense finished 16th in scoring. Outside of the 3 years where Peyton Manning was his quarterback, where Peyton Manning calls plays at the line of scrimmage, and as offensive coordinator and QB coach, it's not on him to really call those plays consistently. That is the highest finish Adam Gase has ever had in the NFL at any point.
Yeah,
Outside of those 3 years with Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning, his team that he has been a part of has not finished higher than 16th in scoring.
Yeah, I want to take just a hot minute to read what is the progression of his ranks in scoring. And this is one of those instances, scoring is not the end all be all for measuring a coach or anybody.
Okay. As a coach, I was gonna say, Josh, that's kind of the point. Scoring is,
But yeah, exactly. That's the thing, though. At the end of the day, it's what matters the most. It's like, would you rather your baseball team get 12 hits in a game and no runs, but have the higher batting average? Where the opposing team hits one hit, but it was a home run and you lost 0-1. Statistically, your team did better, but in the one category that really, really fucking matters, you lost the game. So at the end of the day, my caveat issued, scoring is not the end all be all, but is still far and away the most important part. Adam Gase, starting his first year head coaching, 2016, going on down. His team's finished rank and scoring 17th, then 28th, 26th, 31st, and 32nd. I don't know how you look at that and say, yes, indeed, this man is the only time an offense that he was even a part of in any capacity ever finished above 16th, top half of the league, was the 3 years Peyton Manning was there when he did it, they were ranked 2, 1, and 2. Every other year is ranked 16th or lower. That's so fucking bad. Not even a weird, fluke season somewhere in there. Only literal, actual Peyton Manning saved this guy. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable.
And it's not like he was gaining yards and just couldn't execute in the red zone or had to settle for a lot of field goals, what have you. His highest rank outside of those Manning years in total yards was 13th. That's not great. Sure, 13th is not a bad season overall for an individual team, but for coaching history that lasts, that spans 15 years, that's the highest you can ever do without a superstar guaranteed first ballot in the GOAT argument quarterback is not good. That's bad. There's every time he takes over as an offensive coordinator, his passing yards takes a major decline. We're in a passing league and happened for years. His reputation is as a QB coach, a passing-oriented coach, and it gets worse every single time. I don't get it. He's not a good play caller.
No, it's genuinely astonishing. It is so fucking bad. And at this point, it's got to be evident. At this point, we're not really breaking any wild preconceived notions that this guy's good. He is universally discussed as being bad. Every analyst you'll hear on I've never, in all his time serving as the Jets head coach, which is, a year and a half and feels like 7, heard an analyst say this guy's a good head coach. And think about how wild that is to hear a consensus opinion from football talk show analysts. Think about how wild it is that everyone can universally agree that Adam Gase is a bad head coach. We don't get that from anyone. There were Todd Bowles defenders when he got fired. Yeah. There's defenders of most head coaches. I mean, especially the head coaches who have short tenures. There was so much room for he got hosed by this, that, the other thing. There's none of that. This guy's awful. He's so bad at what he does. Fire him from my team, for the love of God. It's crazy.
I get why they view their offensive structure and say, we are just not set up to fire this guy midseason because we have nobody to take over. I get being concerned about that. If you're going to keep him on because of that for the season, that's a mistake. But if you are able to continue with a scouting search, if you're interviewing other candidates, if you have a committee together to find the next quarterback, or not the next quarterback, the next head coach, while retaining Adam Gase for the season, and internally you decide, all right, we're tanking for Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance next year. I still think it's a mistake to keep Adam Gase there, but I can accept it.
I can't.
I still think it's a bad decision because you're setting that tone that this is acceptable. You're affecting that team chemistry, attitude, and winning expectation, and you're basically just giving up on Sam Darnold because he is only going to continue to regress with Adam Gase there, and there won't be any improvement. And I get you don't have anyone there to give Sam Darnold to build under, to grow under, because Adam Gase is the play caller. His offensive coordinator isn't there to be some schemer or anything to, call up plays. It's just a guy there. Jim Bob Cooter, I think, is still a guy that could come in and be a interim offensive coordinator and do a fine job. But it's a lose-lose situation. And that's just kind of the corner that they've painted themselves into.
Well, I think the thing is that everyone's going to understand if they fire their head coach and then that guy struggles for the rest of the season to make coaching adjustments. Everyone's going to get it. The players will get it. The fans will get it. Everyone gets it. No one gets what's happening right now. I don't fucking get it. I doubt the players are thrilled. I doubt anybody's thrilled. I mean, my God, this man is a detriment. And you know what? We're getting subject. Think about this. It is week 4. And we are already hearing the question talked about on every radio network. We've talked about it on this podcast already. What would the Jets do if they had the first overall pick? Do they keep Sam Darnold? That's where we're at. It's so bad. That's how bad it is right now that we're talking about scrapping a rebuild that never got on its feet, that never got off the ground. That's how bad this guy is at head coaching. That's how bad this team situation is right now. That we are year 3 into a rebuild, and it's so bad they're talking about fucking starting over again. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
It is just one of those situations where no matter what happens, it's a situation where they can't improve. They can improve by getting rid of Gase, but their team's still going to be bad, and they're not going to be able to grow the players that they have unless, because it just sucks. There's no reason for it to be there, but getting rid of them isn't exactly going to improve the team in the short run.
I actually think it might. I think it might be addition via subtraction. I
you know what?
genuinely think he's only going back.
I fully think Jim Bob Cooter's, as rough of his history as an offensive coordinator was, it's still better than this. How can you say it improve under that?
What? Hold on one second. I want to look at something. I have a page open. I wonder if it would give me the right stat I'm looking for. So I have Sam Darnold's stats open, and I want to look at his. Do we have advanced passing, advanced rushing and receiving? I have adjusted passing, advanced passing. Okay. Intended air yards per pass attempt. Okay, this is what I wanted. So this is how basically think about this is how far down the field is the guy I'm throwing to. All right. In 2018, his first season in the NFL under Todd Bowles, 9.3 yards intended air yards per pass attempt.
It's
Okay.
pretty good.
Yeah. It's about 10. It's a little under 10 yards. So that seems like it would be a decent mix of over 10-yard plays and your check down plays.
For a rookie, that's real good.
Absolutely. Second year, 2019, 8.2 yards. A little bit of a step back. It's not unreasonable. It's obviously moved in the wrong direction. But, and this is also, by the way, the first year under Gase. But it's not untenable. You can come back. Regression's expected. This year, 7.4.
Oof.
That means on average, he is trying to throw the ball 2 yards fewer on average than he did his rookie season. He is getting more conservative with the ball. That's not what you want out of a gunslinger, out of any quarterback. To start to have his direction, if you show me these three numbers, I would assume we're talking about somebody from their age 32 to 35 season, not 21 to 23.
Mm-hmm.
He's going the wrong direction.
When he should only be getting better.
And hold on 1 second, because now I'm curious. Now let's look at Josh Allen. I wonder how his stats compare.
Oh, well, he's just going to be monumentally better.
Yeah, specifically.
You know what? I have to admit, I'm pretty awful at scouting quarterbacks, apparently, because Josh Allen has completely flipped the switch this year. And Justin Herbert today is just making me look like a fucking idiot. Because he looks like a superstar, and he's making all the right decisions. I know that's a complete non sequitur, but I just have to admit, I'm apparently a super bad QB scout.
And we will all take that into consideration come draft time. So actually, this is a pretty interesting thing. Josh Allen's also going down 11 intended air yards per pass attempt in 2018, 9.3 in 2019, 8.5 in 2020, also getting more conservative. But here's an interesting difference that I wouldn't have picked out, and now I'm curious about it. Completed air yards per completion, I guess, might be a little bit more of a better gauge. Sam Darnold, 2018, 6.7 completed air yards per completion. In 2019, 5.7 went down a full yard. 2020, 4.7 went down another full yard, which means that in 2020, he is attempting 2 fewer yards per pass attempt than he was in 2018. And he is completing 2 fewer yards per completion than he was in 2018. Not good. Some would say not fucking good. Josh Allen completed air yards per completion, 6.7 in 2018, 6.5 in 2019, so statistically the same, 7.8 in 2020. So he is his intended air yards is 8.5, his completed air yards, 7.8. Sam Darnold isn't even attempting 7.8 average air yards. And he's only completing 4.7 of them. Sam Darnold, listen to this. This is wild. Completed air yards per pass attempt. Sam Darnold, 2.8. 2.8 completed air yards per pass attempt. Josh Allen, 5.5. Double. Fucking double.
Josh, if you want to see what Adam Gase does to quarterbacks and to players he has under, his offensive scheme, let's move on to the next tab.
Sorry, you're right. I could sit here and be mad about this all day.
Aptly titled Escape from Miami. Basically, this is a breakdown. I forgot to change the first column's names, but whatever. BG, Gase, and AG. Before Gase and after Gase. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's just averages over, the period of time before Adam Gase comes to town, while he's there, and what they've done after he left. So I think the best way to start this off is Ryan Tannehill. All right. So he had 4 seasons before Adam Gase got there playing for the Dolphins. I included the 2 immediately leading up to Adam Gase's start there, just because, rookie, sophomore seasons for quarterbacks can be wildly up and down. They don't have their feet under them in the NFL. Years 3 and 4, I think things start to, buoy themselves, average out. You get a clearer picture, and I think that would just provide us with a more clear picture of who Ryan Tannehill was when Gase got there, and everything else kind of fits together better. So in 2014, 2015, 32 total games, finished 14-18. Ryan Tannehill, completed 64.2% of his passes, averaged 4,126 yards over the course of a 16-game season. So completion on over is all 16-game averages, not totals, not what he actually did. 16-game averages, just to make this as comparable as possible. Averaged 26 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Average yards per attempt, adjusted average yards per attempt, was 7, which is fair. A 90.8 QB rating, and got sacked 7.2% of the time. 2016, 2017, 2018, when Ryan Tannehill was quarterback under Gase with Miami, he started 24 games, went 13-11, completed 65.9% of his passes, slight bump, for 3,316 yards per season, 24 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. Completed a little more, but produced a lot less. He did have an adjusted yards per attempt of 7.2, slight uptick to a 93.2 rating, and got sacked 8.8% of the time. After going to Tennessee and ceased playing for Adam Gase, he has played in 15 total games. He's gone 10-3. Has a average completion percentage of 69.5, 4% jump, 37.88 yards per season, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 9.7 adjusted yards per attempt, a 114.4 rating, and an 8% sack rate. Massive uptick when getting out from underneath Adam Gase's thumb. That being said, everyone knows this. This has been widely discussed, widely talked about. We all know how much Ryan Tannehill blossomed last season. That's just the way it is. It's tough, but it's the clearest picture we got for what this does. Any comments on Ryan Tannehill before we move on to player number 2?
Yes, I will say it. If a Bill Belichick has taught us anything, it is that you do not need someone who is considered to be a GOAT for their position or whatever to be an effective playmaker in the NFL. And seeing what fucking Mike Vrabel, or whatever his first name is, did with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee is case in fucking point. No one's going to sit here and tell you that Ryan Tannehill necessarily is that guy from last season 100% of the time. But the fact that he can be schemed for and used appropriately to meet that end shows that you do not need to have a Peyton Manning, an Aaron Rodgers, a Russell Wilson, necessarily speaking, to get good production out of the quarterback position. It is bananas. It's fucking ridiculous that we have to sit here and have a conversation about whether or not to keep Sam Darnold logistically and talent-wise because we're this far down the Gase rabbit hole. Anyway, sorry.
It's disgusting. It really is. I mean, he's the clearest example we have. Like, that's known. But my goodness, it's just night and day. Just how much better Ryan Tannehill was utilized when you had an offensive coordinator and a head coach that was willing to work towards his strengths and willing to get creative with play calling and just be progressive, evolving play callers.
All right, let's get to the next one.
Kenyon Drake, moving on. Started his career in 2016 when he was drafted. So we don't have a BG stat line for you. But while he was in Miami, he had played in 48 games, averaged 453 yards per season, 4.7 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 31 receptions, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 fumbles. In the 17 games he's played for the Arizona Cardinals, he's averaged 975 yards, 4.6 an attempt, 8 touchdowns, 52 receptions, 344 yards, no touchdowns, and still 2 fumbles. So efficiency has remained the same, essentially completely on par with averages there. It's just utilization has jumped up a lot, and he's used to a point where he's able to score. It's not like he has become an all-pro running back the way Ryan Tannehill did, but guess what? You use good players better. You use good players more. They jump up in their stat numbers and produce a lot more.
And it's the playing to strengths conversation that we've had every time we talk about most recently Le'Veon Bell, especially with the Jets, is that you have a guy that is, I mean, one of the most multifaceted players in the history of the running back position, and they're using him to like run up the gut on 1st and 10 every time, and are surprised that his efficiency numbers are going down when he's not being used in the way that made him the greatest yards from scrimmage player of all time. I mean, it's because like you're right, the yards per attempt efficiency stat for Kenyon Drake is the same, but you would still take the post Gase Kenyon Drake every time because look, oh my God, he's getting touchdowns more, he's receiving more, he's getting more yards from those receptions. Like, anyway.
Yeah, I just I love me some Le'Veon Bell. I was in love with him when he was on the Steelers. I thought he was one of the best running backs I've ever watched. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. And he has been turned into a shell of his former self because he just is not utilized effectively. This next one, not exactly the clearest picture. I didn't even realize he played in Miami. But Damien Williams became a household name after playing with the Chiefs. Before Adam Gase came in, he had played in 16 games, averaged 90 yards a season, 3.5 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 21 receptions, 164 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. While Gase was there, he played in 26 games, 182-yard average, 3.7 yards an attempt, 2 touchdowns, 26 catches, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, a fumble. After going to the Chiefs and leaving Adam Gase behind, 27 games, 447-yard average, 4.7 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 31 receptions, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, a fumble. Again, not major increases, but you see just a small change in coaching, in offense, and he produces significantly more. Next,
shocking revelation.
Right. Next up, Devonta Parker, a super clear example. Before Adam Gase, 14 games, averaged 50 yards a target, 50 targets a season. My goodness. 26 receptions, 494 yards, 19 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns, no fumbles. To be fair, that was his rookie season. With Gase there, he played in 39 games, averaged 94 targets, 56 receptions, 707 yards, down from 19 yards per reception to 12.6, goes right back to what we talked about with Sam Darnold, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Adam Gase leaves. Devonta Parker remains in Miami. They go from Ryan Tannehill, who had the most efficient season in the history of the NFL last year, to Ryan Fitzpatrick, the career journeyman NFL quarterback, and has averaged 122 targets a season, 72 receptions, 1,155 yards, 15.9 yards per reception, 8 touchdowns, and no fumbles. Absolute breakout with a worse quarterback, just a better play caller. And it just goes back. He went from 94 targets a year to 122. Because guess what? You have good players on your team. You have skilled players on your team. You utilize them. You target them. You game plan to get them touches. You put the ball in their hands. They produce. That's how it's always worked. That's how it will always work.
It's like, look at what makes Kansas City so great right now. Not only is the quarterback talent that Patrick Mahomes possesses stupid, they are also building around the assets the team has and the functions that team performs well. And that marriage is one of the most broken offenses in like the history of football.
Yeah.
Like, and this team would be good, not this good, of course, but they would be good if Patrick Mahomes wasn't their quarterback. Because that's how, like, this, think about the when Alex Smith led this team. Alex Smith led this team to an 11-5 season the year before he got traded to Washington or signed a contract with Washington. Because Andy Gase, like, it shouldn't be on, it can't be on just your quarterback's shoulders to do everything when they're providing nothing. And it shouldn't take a quarterback to perform out of his fucking goal in order for you to win a game. And the Jets haven't even won a game yet.
Yep. It's just one of those things where I don't want to compare Adam Gase to Andy Reid because
It's
one of
unfair
them's
to
a
Adam
Hall
Reid.
of Famer,
Yeah.
and one of them is the worst coach in the NFL right now. That's
Maybe
just
ever.
unfair to both of them. But it's just so clear how poorly he utilizes what he has and everything else involved with that. Another example, Jarvis Landry. Before Adam Gase gets there, he played in 32 games, averaged 139 targets a season, 97 receptions, 958 yards. Excuse me. 9.9 yards a reception, 4 touchdowns, 4 fumbles. With Adam Gase, 32 games, 146 targets, 103 receptions, 1,062 yards, 10.3 yards a reception, 6 touchdowns, 3 fumbles. Those are all better numbers across the board. I will say part of this could be the fact that Jarvis Landry is getting better as a player. Part of it could be that he's just so good as a slot receiver, especially in that time, at Miami. It's hard not to give him that target share. And even a broken clock is right twice a day. Even so, since leaving Miami and becoming essentially the number 2 receiver on another team, he's played in 16 games, averaged 137 targets, slight drop down, 80 receptions, hilarious drop down. Just the catch percentage in Cleveland has been atrocious. Truly, like, remarkably bad. But still averages over 1,000 yards at 1,048. His yards per reception is magically up to 13.0. And he still has 5 touchdowns and now no interception or no fumbles. So while the quality of passes he's getting is much worse, he's doing more with them. He's scoring at the same clip, fumbling less. That, I'm not going to put that on Adam Gase. But even though he's being utilized a little less overall, he's getting better spots. And he's a number 2 receiver. Last guy I have here, Mike Gosicki. His only year with Adam Gase was his rookie season. He had 32 targets, 22 receptions, 202 yards, 9.2 yards per receptions, 0 touchdowns and a fumble. Since then, 19 games, 91 targets, so up threefold, 53 receptions, 627 yards, 11.8 yards per reception, 6 touchdowns, and a fumble. So major uptick. I will give the caveat of rookie tight ends aren't exactly known for producing. This is really more of, what could have been rather than completely on Adam Gase, but don't think that's me defending him. Boy, my throat is sore. I've been
Yeah, you're not used to talking this much on this show.
No, not at all. Any final thoughts on this tab? I mean, it is fairly self-explanatory. Guys get better when Adam Gase isn't around.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Just to on the fly see something. I'm gonna pull up another person's stats real quick, just to compare.
Who you got? Who you got?
Hold on. I hate when Pro Football Reference doesn't come up first. All right. He played in Buffalo? Anyway, Chris Hogan. So, everyone's like, oh my God, Chris Hogan. That's all Sam Darnold has to throw to Chris Hogan. Yeah, it's not ideal Sam Darnold has to throw to Chris Hogan, but just for reference, Chris Hogan yards per reception in New England, 17.9, 12.9, and 15.2. Chris Hogan on the Jets, 8.9.
That's not good.
No, it's not. Chris Hogan catch percent in New England, 65.5, 57.6, and 63.6. Chris Hogan catch percent with Adam Gase, 47.8, the lowest of his career. This is, oh my God. I mean, this isn't the end all be all, but wow, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, come on, Josh. Are we really going to hold Adam Gase accountable for a lacrosse player's statistics? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I really wanted to include Julius Thomas in this because of, how much he dropped off, but at the same time, looking through his stats, he really only ever played for Adam Gase and Peyton Manning, so it's like that wouldn't have been a clear picture and would have been very, very muddled.
Truly.
So I do have the next tab here that's draft history, but that being said, I don't think it really fits as well as I was trying to hope it would, just because it is really hard to determine how much input he had as a head coach and as an offensive coordinator in the draft process. That being said, since becoming a head coach, he has drafted a total of 5 players that have, in my eyes, been effective NFL players. Laramie Tunsil, who was a easy gimme, who fell because of the famous gas mask video that was dropped the day of the draft, should have been a top 5 pick, fell to 13. It's hard not to fuck that one up. Kenyon Drake, that same year in 2016, who wouldn't have been a hit if he didn't leave Adam Gase's team. 2018, Mike Gosicki, who really didn't break out until after Adam Gase left. Chuma Edoga, who is a right tackle for the Jets right now, and I by all means he's worked out and he seems to have played well. But again, I'm not an offensive line scout. I am not good at it. I can't speak specifically to how well he's done. And I will say, that being said, Mekhi Becton has looked truly phenomenal. And again, an easy gimme at 11th overall, so it's hard to fuck that one up. The other 15 guys on here either haven't played enough or just have completely flopped. So not a whole lot to write home about with the Adam Gase draft history. The next tab we got free agents from this offseason. There's not a whole lot to talk about here other than the fact that every single one of these contracts was built and structured so that there would be nothing holding them back from getting cut when Adam Gase was fired after the season. Joe Douglas got brought in and essentially was like, I want to fire Adam Gase. These two fuckers that are owning the team and telling me who I can and cannot fire are saying, no way, Jose. I get that. I'm just not going to – I'm going to ensure that Adam Gase is – well, not ensure because Adam Gase is going to do it to himself. But when he gets fired next year, I'm going to make sure none of the guys that he's pushing for to bring in are still here so we have a clean slate. The only exception is Connor McGovern, who by all means is just a good football player and is the kind of guy you want to keep on. So of all the players, the 12 players that were signed this offseason by the Jets, only 4 of them got multi-year contracts. And of those 4, only Connor McGovern has guarantees after this season that are not able to be avoided with a early cut. George Fant does have $4.5 million guaranteed, but that's voided if he's cut before the 5th league day of the following season. So if they want to cut him and avoid having that dead cap, they can do that.
Yeah, we talked about this before. The Jets didn't, give out any real big contracts. They have a fuck ton of cap space. It seems very odd, but it seems like they were prepared. Like Joe Douglas was prepared to move on from Gase and then build a team that he wanted afterwards. But we'll have to fucking see, man. I don't get what's happening, and I just want this guy off my team.
And that brings us to the final tab, which is the 2021. Where the Jets are going to be next year. They're set up to really be able to get some quality top players on their team. They currently have 5 picks in the top 100, 2 first-rounders, a second, and 2 thirds, thanks to the Jamal Adams trade. Granted, they lost Jamal Adams, but this allows them to get some good, young, cheap players to build around either Sam Darnold or whoever their top quarterback becomes when they draft in the top 5 next year. They could get a second, 4th rounder if Leonard Williams ends up re-signing with the Giants. That pick would end up moving from a 5th to a 4th round pick. And then the first link that you have there is the cap situation for the Jets, which I just found this tool on the Spot Track website. If George Fant and Van Roten are released this offseason, they would basically be saving $11 million in cap space, which would put them at $83.5 million in total cap space going into next year, which gives them, hey, if they have a top QB coming in, if they have a Trevor Lawrence coming in, you're going to be able to sign some quality offensive players who would want to be a part of that. You're going to have Le'Veon Bell. You'll have Jamison Crowder. You'll have, Denzel Mims. You'll have Mekhi Becton. You'll have Connor McGovern. You'll have Alex Lewis. You could get yourself another wide receiver if you want it. You could get yourself another tackle if you want it. You have the room to build around this quarterback. And guess what? You still have Sam Darnold that I'm sure you could trade for a quality day 1, day 2 pick if they're willing to move on from him. They have got a lot of space and they've got a lot of capital to really turn this team around next year.
As we have been saying for years, but I don't know.
You got a good coach. You got Joe Douglas, who I believe in. Any team can turn it around. The Browns have done it.
I
starting to, at least.
They're 3-1.
3-1. They put up 48 on the fucking Cowboys today.
I've been thinking a lot recently about how I cannot believe the Jets turned away Matt Rule because they didn't want to let him have control over the coaching staff. I've been thinking about that so much. Oh man, it hurts. It hurts. Anyway, this is awesome, even though it makes me I can't think of the last time I sighed this much during an episode. This was just so well put together. Good job, man. This was great.
Thank you. This is what I did instead of working this week. So,
Well, we love to see it.
I really hope my boss doesn't listen to this episode, but he wouldn't.
Oh, hey, one more fan. Maybe you'd have a lot more free time to do more of these. That means he'd fire you. Anyway, before we get out of here, one last final thing. I just want to give note to the passing of yet another legend in the sports world and in my heart. Bob Gibson passed away a couple of days ago, October 2nd. It hurts, even though it's not a surprise. He's had cancer for a while, and he's been out of the public eye for a little while now. But he was a titan of the game, a titan for. It's also it can't really be overstated how crazy, how important it was for him to be a black pitcher, because when black players started first coming into the sport, a lot of them were hitters. There were exceptions like Don Newcomb, but a lot of them were hitters because it was that weird. We talked about this before about how there was a weirdness around black quarterbacks because there was the racist thing of like, well, you got to be smart to play quarterback. Anyone can catch the ball and be a wide receiver. That shit. It was the same thing with pitching. So Bob Gibson being like the most dominant pitcher in the sport at the time, causing there to be a rule change, the lowering of the mound after his 1968 season, meant a lot. It was a huge deal. It remains being a huge deal. He was a legend in every single way. I'm going to take a brief moment just to read off, not necessarily, I'll read some stats, but I want to read his Hall of Fame page from the Baseball Hall of Fame website. Bob Gibson may well have been the most intimidating pitcher in history. He was certainly one of the most successful. The Omaha, Nebraska native excelled at baseball and basketball in high school and played college hoops for Creighton University before a brief stint with the Harlem Globetrotters. In 1957, he signed with the Cardinals and made his big league debut in 1959. A 15-game winner by 62, Gibson began to take flight soon after. He won 18 games in 1963 and 19 in the Cardinals' pennant-winning season of 64, when he went 9-2 in his final 11 starts down the stretch to lead the Redbirds. In the World Series against the Yankees, he went 2-1, winning Game 5 at Yankee Stadium and then Game 7 at home on 2 days' rest. He was named World Series MVP. He was a 20-game winner in 65 and 66, winning the first of 9 consecutive Gold Glove awards in 65. A broken ankle in July of 67 slowed him down to a 13-7 record, including 3 wins in the late in the season to help the Cardinals clinch another pennant. He went 3-0 with an ERA of 1 in the Cardinals' victory over the Red Sox, winning games 1, 4, and 7 and picking up his second World Series MVP award. The 67 season has become known as the year of the pitcher, and Bob Gibson was certainly the pitcher of the year. He went 22-9 with a sparkling ERA of 1.12, go along with 268 strikeouts, 13 shutouts, 15 consecutive wins, and a stretch of 95 innings in which he gave up just 2 runs. He was again 2-1 in the World Series, beating the Tigers in Game 1 and Game 4 before going the distance in the Game 7 loss. Gibson brought home both the 1968 Cy Young Award and the NL MVP Award, and in the ultimate compliment, baseball lowered the mound following the season because pitchers led by Gibson were dominating hitters and games were historically low scoring. Gibson earned a second Cy Young Award in 1970 and pitched a no-hitter against the Pirates in 71. Injuries were beginning to take their toll, however, and Gibson wound down with double-figure victory totals in 73 and 74 before retiring in 75. Gibson's 17 years with the Cardinals netted 251 victories, 3,117 strikeouts, 56 shutouts, and an ERA of 2.91. He later served as a pitching coach for the Mets, Braves, and Cardinals. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1981, his first ballot, and the MLB All-Century Team in 1999. Joe Torre, Bob Gibson's teammate from 69 to 75, and sometimes battery mate, said, quote, pride, intensity, talent, respect, dedication. You need them all to describe Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson passed away October 2nd, 2020. The picture of fierceness, the picture of a competitor, he's going to be missed, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was an absolute beautiful eulogy. I could not say anything better than you just did. Really just the highlight of when you are that dominant of a player at your position, where the rules and dimension of the field you play on have to be changed to combat how effective you are against the rest of the league. That can't be understated. That's like the field being like narrowed to keep Patrick Mahomes from throwing so many touchdowns. I can't remember anyone else who has had that much of an impact on the sport itself and the field itself, like Bob Gibson with the sport of baseball. So will truly be missed. And I'm sure you saw his video on the discussion of cheating in baseball and
the steroids.
Steroids, and how honest he was that he's self-proclaimed so lucky to have not been in that position because of how good he was, but being very honest with himself and with the rest of the fans and reporters who were watching that you always fight for that competitive edge in any sport, and he understands it would be a tough decision to make when you find a way to combat how these things are being used against you, and you would find a way to give yourself a competitive edge against your opponent. And that's a take that we usually don't see, and we usually don't have guys be that honest with us as fans, as quote unquote members of the media. It's always usually those politically correct, the right types of statements, and it's always nice to appreciate players and former players who are willing to give you the honest picture. And Bob Gibson will truly be missed.
I'm going to offer one final stat, and then we'll wrap up and get out of here. This has been a very long episode. Just to underscore Bob Gibson's competitive nature, he has 251 wins. He has 255 complete games. That's ridiculous. He has 4 more complete games than he has wins. The man never gave in. Furious every time he had to come out of the game. The man was his own goddamn bullpen. It's unreal. Absolutely unreal. I'd like to take this moment very briefly to also shout out the Negro League Baseball Museum. Now's a great time to donate, as it always is, but especially if you would like to find some way to honor Bob Gibson in particular. Negro League Baseball Museum does a lot of great work, and Bob Kendrick, who runs it, does a lot of great outreach, in part recently in the name of Bob Gibson, telling his stories. So that's that on that. If you would like to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you'd like to hit us up via email, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. And until Thursday, y'all have a good one.
Bye.